Ever wonder how a political aide becomes a human printer for a former president? Let's explore the story of Natalie Harp.
Intrigued and ready to dive into this topic.
And I'm Garrett, excited to explore the twists and turns of Natalie Harp's unique role. Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett.
So today's topic is Natalie Harp, an American political aide known for her close association with Donald Trump and for shaping a lot of his communications, especially on his social platform called Truth Social. Here's something to get us started. I've always been fascinated by people who jump from media into politics. It's like one day you're crafting segments for a TV audience, and the next you're inside the room where messages get made in real time. I used to binge watch late-night clips and then read the next morning's political coverage to see what crossed over. That overlap is like a Venn diagram with a lot more in the middle than people think. Natalie Harp's path sits right there, where performance, persuasion, and power meet.
All right, let's set the stage for this one. Natalie Harp was born in 1991. She's a former TV presenter from One America News Network, or OANN, which is a far-right cable channel. Then she became a close aide to Donald Trump. By January 2025, she was appointed executive assistant to the president. That job, in plain terms, is the person who sits closest to the principal's daily life, schedules, correspondence, and lots of sensitive communications. In Harp's case, it also meant heavy involvement in his social media output, including Truth Social, which is Trump's social platform.
Let's unpack the nickname people kept using for her, the human printer. Essentially, Trump prefers reading on paper, so Harp often showed up with a laptop and a portable printer, even at golf courses, printing flattering posts and positive news about him throughout the day. Imagine being a real-time news concierge, feeding hard copies right as your boss wants them. That habit gave her constant proximity and influence, because when you control what someone sees first, you can shape what they think about next.
Here's a thought I've been turning over. Her path really started with a California upbringing, then Point Loma Nazarene University in 2012, an MBA from Liberty University in 2015, and a public identity tied to her Christian faith. By the late 2010s, she was vocal about her health struggles, including stage 2 bone cancer and a medical error related to IV therapy. In 2019, she publicly credited Trump's federal right to try law for helping her access experimental treatment. That's a law meant to let very ill patients try drugs that aren't fully FDA approved yet. The Washington Post later questioned that account based on the law's limits and her prior timeline. We'll circle back to that controversy later.
Then came OANN, where she worked as a presenter from 2020 to 2022. OANN is known for highly partisan content, and during that period she promoted false claims of fraud in the 2020 election. Courts, election officials, and independent experts broadly rejected those claims. After DirecTV dropped OANN in April 2022, there was an exodus of staff, and Harp left too. That's when her orbit tightened around Trump. She began accompanying him often, especially on golf outings, with the laptop and printer. That's where the human printer meme really took off.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Journalists and authors described her not just as an assistant, but as a gatekeeper and a conduit. Gatekeeper just means the person controlling what gets through to the boss. Conduit means a channel people use to send information. Michael Wolff, a journalist and author, used that gatekeeper label in his 2025 book. The New York Times quoted aides calling her an instant enabler of his impulses, meaning she could turn reactions into posts without the usual layers of review. That kind of speed gave her leverage way beyond a typical assistant title.
And there were dramatic episodes. CNN reported that in October 2023, she stowed herself in the trunk of an SUV in Trump's motorcade to avoid being left behind. Alex Eisenstadt, a political journalist, recounted an incident where Melania Trump reportedly found Harp in the family's private quarters at night delivering papers. Those stories signaled how far she'd go to keep access. Also, some aides said her loyalty after January 6, 2021, deepened Trump's trust. Whether people liked her methods or not, it's clear she was always nearby.
Let's talk about social media control. According to reporting summarized in the book Regime Change, Dan Scavino, who's a longtime Trump social media aide, largely ceded control of Truth Social to Harp. That consolidation matters. It means content decisions and timing could rest in the hands of one person who is very responsive to Trump's real-time reactions. In 2023, she surfaced a provocative image of Trump holding a baseball bat near Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's head. Bragg is the prosecutor who later indicted Trump in a New York case. And in 2024, she reposted a video containing the phrase "Unified Reich." That prompted condemnation because of the phrase's associations with Nazi Germany.
She also announced on Truth Social that Trump received a target letter in the federal election obstruction probe, apparently catching other aides off guard. A target letter is a formal notice that someone is a focus of a criminal investigation. And in November 2024, she posted a private message from Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. Sharing a foreign leader's private outreach is a big deal because diplomacy relies on discretion. After the 2024 election, when Trump won, the New York Times reported she was set to enter the administration. By January 2025, she did, as executive assistant.
Post-inauguration, the controversies kept coming. Harp posted from Trump's account a video with a racist depiction of Barack and Michelle Obama. She also posted an AI-generated image portraying Trump as Jesus, meaning a computer model created or altered the picture. Those posts lit up news cycles and raised questions about how presidential messaging was being overseen. Meanwhile, reports said Trump privately praised her loyalty, and the New York Times described letters she wrote to him in 2023 with intensely personal language, which unsettled some around him.
There's also the inside baseball side. Allies and rivals within Trump's world reportedly used Harp to route damaging clips of each other. If a single aide decides which videos or articles reach the principal, that person's inbox can steer personnel decisions and policy vibes. Laura Loomer, a far-right activist known for conspiracy content, was cited in reporting as having her ideas reach Trump partly through Harp. On donors, the New York Times said Trump directed Harp to send angry texts to Miriam Adelson, a major Republican donor. That almost cost him her support. It shows how a message relayed by a trusted aide can affect high-stakes relationships immediately.
Fast forward to August 2026. The Washington Post reported on a secret plan involving an alternate aircraft used instead of Air Force One during an alleged Iranian assassination threat. Harp was among a small group of close aides aboard. The reported absence of senior government officials drew fire, especially when Georgia Senator John Ossoff, a Democrat, criticized that passenger list in a viral speech. That episode put a spotlight back on who sits near the president in moments of national security concern.
So, what's the unresolved piece we promised to circle back to? Her 2019 claim that the right to try law enabled life-saving access to experimental treatment. The Washington Post, citing experts, questioned whether that law actually applied in her case, pointing out she'd publicly said she was already receiving the treatment before the law was signed. To define terms, right to try is a pathway Congress created to let very ill patients try drugs not fully approved. There's also expanded access, an FDA process that already allowed such use case by case. The question is whether her story reflects the law's real mechanism or a symbolic narrative that resonated politically.
Why would that distinction matter so much? If she felt the law helped her, does the technical route change what it meant for her personally?
Great question. Personally, feelings are valid. But in public policy, details change outcomes. If a story suggests a law opened a door, but the door was already open via expanded access, then voters might overestimate what the new law did. That's not a small thing when lawmakers design future health policy. It also fed into her relationship with Trump as a grateful messenger, which helped launch her into the political arena.
Yeah, that checks out. And we've got another layer here. At OANN, she promoted election fraud claims that courts and officials rejected. That mismatch between storytelling and evidence becomes part of the resume you bring into government. If your job later is fast-twitch posting, you might privilege virality over verification. That's not a personal attack. It's about process. In traditional White House communications, multiple layers of review exist to reduce mistakes. Here, a single aide could post instantly.
Real talk. When the stakes include a racist video or an image casting a president in sacred religious iconography, those decisions echo through culture. It's not just a post. It shapes what people talk about at dinner, at work, in school. It can also strain diplomatic ties, like when Zelensky's private message was shared. That's a reminder that speed without context can cause harm beyond the immediate headline.
Speaking of culture, remember her 2020 Republican National Convention speech comparing Trump to George Bailey from the film It's a Wonderful Life. George Bailey is the small-town hero played by Jimmy Stewart, and Stewart's family criticized that comparison. The human printer meme became its own pop culture shorthand. It's wild how a job detail carrying a portable printer can become a symbol for how modern politics is curated on the fly.
Okay, counterfactual time. What if DirecTV had kept OANN on air in 2022, and Harp had stayed as a presenter instead of moving deeper into Trump's inner circle? I can imagine her becoming a marquee host amplifying similar themes, maybe less hands-on with government messaging. Without that constant physical proximity, the golf course printouts, the ride-alongs, she might not have become the central gatekeeper, and fewer of those explosive posts might have come from within the presidential bubble.
I'll add one more twist. What if Trump hadn't entrusted her with substantial control of Truth Social? Even if she stayed close, a sturdier review process could have filtered out the unified Reich repost, the racist video, and maybe the AI Jesus image. The news cycles would have looked different. Still intense, but different. It shows how a single operational choice, who gets the keys to the account, reshapes national conversation.
So there we have it. A California upbringing, a media career at OANN, a leap into the inner circle, and a role that turned printing articles into shaping a presidency's daily feed.
All right, that ties it up nicely. Stay curious, keep exploring, and we'll catch you next time.